Hello, my B-side queens. Welcome to the channel. A while ago, I wrote a book called The Record Is Not Over Yet. I didn't know then that it wasn't just the title of a book. It was becoming the way that I choose to live. This channel is where we live it together, so let's begin. Have you ever had one of those days when you sit down at the end of it and you think, Lord, that was a whole lot of. Not necessarily a bad day, not necessarily a good one either. Just a whole lot of opinions, whole lot of headlines, people telling you what you should buy, how to look, what to fear, who to be angry with, what you should eat, what you should avoid, and what you absolutely cannot miss. A whole lot. Sometimes I wonder if we become so accustomed to constant noise that silence almost feels uncomfortable. When was the last time you just sat outside and heard the birds before you heard a notification? When was the last time you drove somewhere without turning on the radio, a podcast, YouTube, or talking on the phone? When was the last time you simply just watched the rain? Not because you were waiting for it to stop, but because it's beautiful. Except for the rainstorm my son and I got caught in earlier. That was a mess. But somewhere along the way, we stopped living our lives and we started consuming everyone else's. Every time we open our phones, someone is trying to convince us that we're missing something or that we need something. Oh, we're behind. And everybody else is happier, they're healthier, they're wealthier, they're better dressed. They're living in a cleaner house. They're taking better vacations. They're making better investments. They're looking 25 at 65. It is exhausting. And somebody's making a great deal of money from our exhaustion. Because if I can convince you that you're always lacking, then you'll always be shopping. If I can convince you that your life isn't enough, you'll never sit still long enough to appreciate it. If I can convince you to stay angry, you will never experience peace. Now, don't misunderstand me. There's nothing wrong with buying something beautiful, because everybody knows I love fashion, and I will buy my shoes. But there's nothing wrong with learning something new. There's nothing wrong with staying informed. No problem enjoying technology. I thank God for technology. It worked. For technology, I wouldn't be able to sit here and have conversations with women I may never, ever get to meet in person, and that's a blessing. But everything requires balance, and we become a society that seems to mistake stimulation for fulfillment, and those are not the same thing. Constant activity is not purpose. A barrage of information is not wisdom. Unnecessary consumption is not abundance. Sometimes abundance is just drinking your coffee while it's hot or cold, because that's the way I like it. Sometimes wealth just looks like having nowhere you absolutely have to be that day. Sometimes luxury is just sitting on the porch watching the sun go down without feeling guilty that you're not doing something productive. And I think that our generation understands something that younger generations are still trying to discover. The best moments of our childhood weren't expensive. We played outside until the streetlights came on. We talked on the front porch, drinking lemonade or Kool-Aid if any was left. We laughed around kitchen tables. Families gathered without needing to document every minute of it. Nobody stopped dinner to photograph the macaroni and cheese. We were just simply together. We were just there. We were present. That word has almost become, in my opinion, revolutionary. Just present. Imagine that. Being fully where your feet are. I believe one of the greatest acts of self-care today is deciding what gets access to your mind. Everything does not deserve an invitation. Every argument is not yours. Every crisis is not yours. Every trend, every sale, every opinion is not yours. Protecting your peace is not selfish. And I know I always say that, and I say it again because it's important. It's stewardship. God gave you one mind. God gave you one heart. One nervous system. You need to treat them like they're valuable, because they are. As B-side queens, I think we've earned the right to become more intentional. We don't have to chase everything, respond to everything. We don't have to own everything, although I do have to do better in my shoe department purchase situation, but we're going to work on that. We don't even have to know everything. Sometimes the wisest sentence that we can ever say is, I don't need another thing today. I don't need another purchase. I'm not going to engage in another argument. I don't want to look at another notification. This is going to give me another reason to be outraged. How about more of what's really important? How about some more laughter, gratitude, quiet? What about prayer? What about sunshine? How about conversations with someone who loves us? Time to hear ourselves think, and that sounds like a rich life to me. So today I want to leave you with a small challenge. Find 30 interrupted minutes. No television, no scrolling, no shopping, no headlines, no endless opinions, just you and your thoughts, your creator, maybe a cup of tea, or a walk. Get a notebook. Yeah, get a notebook. Maybe just absolutely nothing. And during those 30 minutes, you will discover that your life is already fuller than you ever realized. And perhaps you'll understand what I've been talking about. Because the world is going to continue offering us a whole lot. But we get to decide exactly how much of that we're going to carry. And that, my B-side queens, is one of the greatest freedoms that we still possess. So until next time, stay on the B-side. That's where the classics live.